So by the time that you went to bed, my understanding is that around 9 or so, your mother would have shown up to pick up Jaylen and Major. Is that right?
Yes.
Why was your mom taking Jaylen and Major that night?
Because she knew I didn't feel good and she was taking 2 kids for me.
So 3 kids at night was easier to manage than 5?
Yes.
So by the time your mom picked up Jaylen and Major, who were the kids that were left in the house?
Alex, Brantley, and Aria.
Now, about what time did you try to start getting the kids to bed?
I believe it would have been around that after Derek got arrested.
Okay. Was it possible to try and get the kids to sleep while the police were there and Derek was being arrested?
Yeah.
Was it difficult to do?
Yes.
So, where did all of you go to bed?
My bed.
You and all 3 children?
Yes.
Did Aria sleep upstairs on that bed that you had for her that evening?
No.
Did Brantley sleep upstairs in that bed that evening?
No.
Can you describe for us the order of the children and you on the bed?
It would have been, looking at the bed, it would have been myself on the left, then Brantley, then Aria, then Alex.
Okay, so I'm just gonna draw a little diagram here of the bed. So we're looking at the bed. Why don't you write for me the order in which you were laying on the bed? I'm gonna have this marked as an exhibit.
Notice what the defense is doing here. They're slowing everything down and mapping out the bed placement in extreme detail. That may seem repetitive, but in a courtroom, physical positioning matters a lot. Who slept where, who could reach what, who would have noticed movement. This becomes a backbone of reasonable doubt. And the prosecution knows it too, which is why you immediately hear objections starting to creep in.
And then we'll publish. Okay. Office 310.
Objection.
Okay, go ahead. Received.
Josie, I'm showing you what you drew here. So you would be on the side of the bed closest to where. Go in. You were on the side of the bed closest to the nightstand where you had your medications.
Yes.
Was that the medication that you took on a daily basis on the nightstand?
Yes.
And it looks like next to you or to your left would be Brant if you're all facing face up, correct?
Yes.
And next to Brant would be Aria.
Yes.
And at the other end of the bed was Alex.
Yes.
Why was Alex on the other end of the bed?
Because he had a walker.
So you had the walker position where you could get him to the walker if you needed to?
Yes.
Did Alex sometimes need to get up at night and use the bathroom?
Yes.
Was this common for all of you to sleep in the same bed, kind of like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory?
Yes.
Was anything out of the ordinary with the fact that the kids would be in bed with you even after Derek got arrested?
Yes.
Or was anything unusual about that?
No.
Sure. And what size bed did you have, Josie?
King size.
Okay, so it was a fairly large bed.
Yes.
Did you do anything in bed with the kids after you all lay down?
No, but I want to correct something. I think I had told Alex to wake me up if he wanted his walker, just to make sure he woke me up.
Okay, thank you. And why did you feel the need to give him that warning?
Just because I wanted to make sure that he had an adult present. I wanted to make sure he woke me up.
Was it pretty normal for you to watch movies or TV shows with the kids in bed?
Yes. It was common for us to have popcorn and watch movies.
Now, did you watch movies or shows that night that you can remember?
Yes, we did.
What do you recall watching?
It was popular for the boys to watch Mary-Kate and Ashley because I called them my twins.
Okay, so they thought they were like the Olsen twins, so they watched that.
Yes.
And at some point, did all of the kids go to sleep?
Yes.
Who went to sleep first, if you can recall?
This is one of those moments juries tend to remember. Alex played with his hands in the air. Sounds harmless at first, but knowing the tragic outcome, every small detail suddenly feels loaded with meaning. The difficult part for jurors is separating hindsight from what someone reasonably understood in the moment. Ask yourself, would you have recognized it as a medical emergency or just a kid being goofy before bed?
I don't know.
It wasn't Alex, as I understand it.
It wasn't Alex, but thinking back, he wasn't like fully awake.
Okay. What seemed off about him?
He was being silly.
What do you mean?
He was like playing with his hands in the air.
Playing with his hands in the air? Is that a yes?
Yes.
Did you have any reason at that point to suspect that Derek had given him drugs?
No.
You just thought he was being silly?
I thought he was being silly.
Now, while you were in bed, were you talking to Laura Lee?
Yes.
Just generally speaking, how would you describe the tone of that conversation?
We were just talking about me going on the date with Raphael and
Was it a pleasant conversation?
yeah.
Were you excited to go meet Raphael the next day?
Yeah.
Did you do any planning online for first date planning?
Yeah, I didn't know of many coffee shops, so I was Googling coffee shops around in the area.
So was that the plan, just to meet Raphael, get coffee, and hang out for an hour or two?
Yeah.
Just to get to know him.
Right.
Were you mad at all at Alex or any of the kids when you were texting back and forth with Laura Lee?
No, I mean, they were all in bed laying there. I wasn't upset at all.
How about at any point in the night were you upset with the kids?
No.
Now, we've already agreed that you had some 164, I think, text messages between you and Raph that evening. How are you feeling talking to Raph?
But fine, I was interested in getting to know him.
Anything about that made you angry?
No.
When you were in bed, do you recall having a phone call with Laura Lee?
Yes.
And what generally was the tone of that conversation?
I was asking her questions about Raph and
Happy?
Huh? Yeah, it was a good, happy conversation. We were talking about Derek getting arrested and welfare check.
Okay. How about, did you take a series of selfies with Brantley?
I did.
How did that end up happening?
Well, I was taking selfies and he popped his head in.
Okay. Josie, publishing that's already been marked and received in Exhibit 254. So around, I think at some point between 9:06 and 9:15 p.m., you took a few photos with Brantley.
Yeah, my face, that was a forced smile. I did not feel good.
Was Brantley photobombing you?
He was.
Did he think that was funny?
He did. He said, Mom, take one with me.
And how does Brantley look to you in this picture?
Happy.
How do you look?
Well, my face was really red. I wasn't feeling good.
Okay. Do you look angry, Josie?
No.
And when you took these selfies, where were you taking them?
In bed.
With Brantley next to you, as you indicated on the diagram?
Yes.
Is that where Brantley slept for the remainder of the night?
Yes, Brantley was always, he was a mama's boy.
So, on your call with Laura Lee, do you agree with the testimony that there was some discussion about Alex waiting for you to go to sleep so he could get up and get into things?
Yes.
Tell us how that happened to the best of your memory.
I remember that discussion. I mean, that was the last thing Alex said to me. I said, he was playing with his hands in the air, and I said, Alex, are you waiting for me to go to sleep so you can get into stuff? And he said, yes, like that.
You thought that was silly?
I thought he was being silly.
Were you joking with him at that point, or
I
was
was
there an
joking
element
with
of truth?
him.
I'm sorry.
I was joking with him.
Did you actually expect him to get up and go through things at night?
No.
So, Josie, at some point, well, just to cover the text messages, would you agree that it was pretty consistent that you were texting back and forth with Raph until about 2 a.m.?
That exchange right there is strategically important. The defense is painting a picture of a crowded bed, sleeping children, active phone use, and ongoing conversations. Basically arguing there was no realistic window for a violent assault to happen unnoticed. And then comes an emotionally charged line. They wake up to Derek beating me. That's not accidental. It introduces another layer to the household dynamic without directly making a new accusation.
I don't remember the times, but yeah.
Until a little bit later in the day, night
Yeah.
or early in the morning, I guess. Would you agree that your contact with Laura Lee was pretty consistent throughout that time frame?
Yes.
And during that period, were you hurting Alex at all?
No.
Were you giving Alex Xanax or any other drugs?
No.
Is that something that happened at all that evening?
No, it did not.
If, knowing your children, Aria and Brantley, you believe that you would be able to beat Alex up in the room and not wake them up?
I believe they would have woke up. They wake up to Derek beating me.
So the state introduced some search history for the drug Ambien. Do you think that you looked that up on the search engine?
Yes, I believe that was a conversation Laura Lee and I were having on the phone, and we were talking about it, and I looked it up.
Did you actually have Ambien?
No.
Did you have a prescription for it?
No, I think she had it when she was in the hospital. I think they gave it to her.
Okay. And at any point, would you have given Ambien or what you believed to be Ambien to Alex?
No. I've never had Ambien, never had it in my possession, never have had it in my system. It was just looking it up. I believe she was given it in the hospital, and she was asking, what is it?
So with Alex having issues getting up and sneaking around, was that what you were referring to with Derek when you said that a parent needs to be with him all the time?
Yes.
Did you eventually go to sleep that night?
Yes, I did.
And I want to ask you a little bit about some of the medications that Alex was taking at that time. Was he taking any medications?
He was taking ibuprofen and Tylenol as needed.
What kind of ibuprofen and Tylenol? The adult version or the kids' chewables?
Kids' chewables.
Did he know where those pill bottles were?
I mean, I don't know if he knew they were in my purse.
How did Alex do taking chewable medication like that?
He thought they were candy.
So he had no problem saying that this is yucky or this is gross?
Mm-mm.
Then a no.
No, sorry.
Okay. Did Alex do well taking other medication that kids tend not to like?
Yeah, he did really good taking like medicines from the doctor. He wasn't my struggle compared to like Brantley. He was very hard to get him to take medication.
How about that liquid amoxicillin that doctors give to kids? Did Alex ever take that?
He's had to take it, yes.
How did he do with that?
Pretty good.
Did Alex ever eat anything that you thought maybe he shouldn't be eating in terms of food or things on the floor?
I always called him a little garbage disposal because he could eat and eat and eat and you didn't know where it went. But like in the van, I swear finding a piece of candy was like Christmas for him and he'd pick it up anywhere and eat it.
The other kids think that was gross?
Yes.
So the allegation has been made, Josie, that you were upset with Alex for stealing Taki chips. Is that true?
No, Alex didn't eat Taki chips.
What did Alex eat?
If it was hot, he would eat hot Cheetos.
I want to talk to you a little bit about how the kids said that Alex would steal things. Had you ever caught Alex stealing from a store before?
Yes.
Irrelevant.
It explains this. It explains the statements in the reputation, Judge.
That's not what the kid said.
You're saying that,
I'm asking who was present for it and what Josie's response was to that.
oh, okay. Overroom, go ahead.
Okay. Have you ever caught him taking something from a store before?
Yes.
And what did he take?
My object, this is not in other acts. It wasn't noticed. It wasn't,
Response to the testimony of the state's witnesses.
which was known. They had the videos. This is not other acts. This was not offered.
The testimony was not consistent with the videos.
Right. Which video are you talking about?
Where Brantley and both Brantley and Major talk about being known for stealing.
So it's in the videos and it was known.
Okay. It's late. I don't know. I can't remember what was said in there exactly about the stealing aspect. You're saying that they were saying that
They would have known about this incident when they talk about mom being upset with him for that.
Now the phone data enters the story, and digital evidence can completely reshape a trial. 6 hours of inactivity sounds simple, but both sides can weaponize it differently. The defense says she was asleep. The prosecution could argue we still don't know what happened during that gap. Modern trials are increasingly built around timestamps, searches, texts, app activity, basically a digital reconstruction of someone's life minute by minute.
oh
Not, Judge, can we have a sidebar? Because
So, Josie, your phone activity showed that you were inactive for about 6 hours between 3 a.m. and 9 a.m. Why was that?
I was sleeping.
Would you have been able to go to sleep if you had just beaten Alex up?
No.
Did you have any reason to believe at the time that you went to sleep that something was wrong with Alex?
something was wrong with Alex, I wouldn't have went to sleep.
Now, I want to talk about the next morning. What do you recall doing when you got up?
First thing I did when I woke up was look at my phone.
Is that what you normally do?
Yes.
Would you have looked at your phone if you thought that something was horribly wrong in the bedroom?
No.
So what did you do once you looked at your phone?
After that, I took what medication I had,
Okay.
and then I stood up, and I thought I was gonna get ready and take the kids to my mom's.
Did you text Laura Lee at some point when you were looking at your phone?
Oh yes, I wrote her. She had sent me a message about a sensory swing for her autistic child, and I said cool.
Okay. And what was your state of mind when you sent that response?
I had just woken up and I was about to get the kids ready to take them to my mom's.
You think everything was fine at that point?
I did.
So when did that perception change that everything was fine?
I stood up and I turned around and I only seen Brantley and Aria on the bed.
What did you do when you only saw Brantley and Aria on the bed?
My heart dropped and I didn't know where Alex went. I started looking around. He wasn't on the couch. I walked to the other side of the bed and I seen him laying there.
How did Alex appear when you saw him laying on the other side of the bed?
He looked gray. He had foam in his mouth. His hand was sticking up.
To be clear, was he on the floor at that point?
Yes.
What did you do when you saw Alex in that position?
Told the kids to go upstairs.
Did they go upstairs?
Yes.
What did you do after the kids went upstairs?
I started crying and I went over to him and he was cold.
Did you try to do anything to help him?
I tried doing what I thought was CPR.
Tell us about this CPR lesson. How long ago was that?
I was young, I think.
And when you said that you were doing CPR, did you have a chance to see the other first responders doing CPR?
They were pushing a lot harder than I was.
So when you started pushing on Alex, tell us about the foam. What did you notice?
Foam kept coming out.
What did you do when the foam kept coming out?
I kept wiping it.
What color was the foam?
White and yellow.
And when you kept wiping the foam and pushing on Alex's chest, at some point did it become apparent to you that he had passed away?
Yes, and I tried blowing in his mouth after I wiped the foam out.
What did you do once you stopped doing CPR?
I held him.
What were you doing when you held him?
This section is emotionally intense, and it also raises a question investigators always examine carefully: why someone contacted family before calling 911. Prosecutors sometimes view delays as suspicious. Defense attorneys frame them as shock, panic, denial, or grief. And that's what makes cases like this so difficult. Human behavior during trauma rarely looks neat, logical, or cinematic.
Cried.
Were you saying anything to Alex?
I was begging him to come back.
Was it apparent to you at that point, Josie, that Alex had passed away?
Yes. He was stiff. He was cold.
What was it like in that moment for you?
I didn't understand. I thought he was fine when he went to sleep, and he wasn't.
Josie, did you time how long you were doing CPR?
No.
When you said 10 minutes, was that an estimate?
Yes.
You're holding Alex on the floor, you're crying with him, you're talking to him. What do you do after that point?
Call my mom.
Does Alex go onto the bed at some point?
After I called my mom, I held him more and I cried and I begged him to come back and I cried and I told him I was sorry that I wasn't there when he needed me.
Did he?
And
Go ahead.
I knew that they were going to take him when I called 911. And I just wanted to hold him before they did.
Had you picked him up and put him on the bed at that point?
I was holding him on the bed, yes.
Why didn't you call 911 right away?
Because I knew he was gone. And I didn't want them to take him.
You wanted to hold him one last time?
Yes.
Why did you call your mom first?
I wanted to believe that there was something she could do. Something that would bring him back.
Josie, when the police arrived, do you feel like you had a good memory of that day? That was a really poorly phrased question. Let me rephrase that. You have a good memory of everything that the police did and asked you about when they responded on February 11th?
Everything's a blur about the police and everything after seeing Alex's face.
What's your reaction when you've been accused of not showing enough emotion when police were doing CPR on Alex?
I can't help how my emotions are. I can't help that I don't show emotion like other people do. But I know what my heart feels. And I know that I miss him every day. And I know that I loved him with all my heart. And I know that I did not hurt him.
In a moment. Josie, were you crying at points on the 11th?
Yes.
So we saw your interview with Lieutenant Williams. Do you remember seeing that in trial?
Yes.
And how would you describe your emotional state at the time that you talked to Lieutenant Williams? How were you feeling? Let me ask you that.
Felt like a living nightmare. I was in shock.
Did it seem real to you that Alex had passed away?
No.
And here's another subtle but important courtroom strategy. Cooperation. The defense emphasizes that she handed over her phone, passcodes, and access without hesitation. Jurors often interpret openness as a sign of innocence. Although legally, cooperation alone doesn't prove anything. But emotionally, these are the kinds of moments that can quietly influence how a jury perceives credibility by the end of a trial.
Why did you tell Sergeant or Lieutenant Williams that you thought Alex got into your medication?
Because I seen the foam in his mouth, and I assumed with the foam in his mouth it had to be an overdose. And
Were you paying close attention to your room the night before Alex was arrested, or before Derek was arrested?
no,
Do you know whether or not Derek moved that pill bag and used a bottle to stash his Xanax?
I don't know what Derek did with his Xanax.
So was it your immediate perception that Alex must have gotten into your pills?
That's what I thought.
Were you trying to share what you thought was important about that with Sergeant Williams?
Yes.
And Josie, during that conversation, did anybody ask you about whether or not Derek had ever been violent with Alex?
No.
Did anybody ask you whether or not Derek used illegal prescription drugs?
No.
When you said that it all felt like a dream, what did you mean by that?
I went to sleep and Alex was breathing and I woke up and he was on the floor, gray and lifeless.
What did you mean when you told him that you just wanted your baby back?
That's all I wanted. I just wanted him back. I didn't. If I could do anything to trade places, I would.
Recall Sergeant Williams asking you for your telephone. Take him out. Another minute, Josie. Why'd you give it to him?
Because I didn't have anything to hide.
You give him your passcode for the phone as well?
Yes.
He had asked you for access to the camera apps. Would you have given him access to those?
Yes, I would have gave him the cameras. He could have took them.
Did he ask you any follow-up questions about what you meant when you said that Derek was on bond for choking you and getting aggressive with you?
Can you repeat that?
Did he ask you any questions about what you meant when you told him that Derek was on bond for choking and getting aggressive with you?
No, he didn't ask anything about the violence.